Hi everybody, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am reviewing Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. My opinions on this one are probably going to shock a lot of you. If you have been watching me for a while, then you know I have a love-hate relationship with Riley Sager. I've really enjoyed some of his stuff. Some of it I haven't so much. Lock Every Door, I wish I'd read this one first before anything else that I read by him, because this was excellent. I loved every minute of Lock Every Door. It was so good. It was awesome. It had tension. It had good characters, red herrings, like the whole package, people. This, if he wrote like this more often, I think I would enjoy him more. This style is just so good, and I kind of had a feeling I would like it. I didn't expect to love it, and I absolutely did, and that is so incredible to me. So, in Lock Every Door, we are following Jules, who is very down on her luck. She has absolutely no family. Her sister went missing when she was a teenager, and her parents died a couple of years later. So she has kind of been stumbling through life all by herself. She's just gone through a bad breakup, so she has nowhere to live. And she sees an ad for an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew, which is this fictional apartment building in New York. At least I believe that it's fictional. I'm not sure if it's based on an actual place. I didn't really look into that. But it's basically like these fancy luxury apartments for the elite, celebrities, people of that nature. And she goes to tour this place, and she's thinking, oh my God, this is like too fancy for somebody like me. There's been a mistake. And the woman that is doing the tour with her, Miss Evelyn Leslie, tells her that no, this is absolutely correct. We, due to the nature of our residence, we don't like any apartments to sit empty for too long because we don't want to attract the wrong kinds of people to the property. So we want somebody to be in residence at all times. And this job pays $1,000 a week, which is a lot of money for Jules. And it is such a huge temptation to her because she desperately needs money and it's a free place to live. And so it gives her time to like save up some money while she finds a good job, while she finds a place to live. So this is like a dream come true to her. But they have a lot of weird rules, and her best friend Chloe absolutely does not like it. She's like, there's something hinky going on here. They're willing to pay you way too much money. They have way too many weird rules. This is not right. But Jules ignores her. She's like, what else am I supposed to do? That is our initial setup. So among some of these weird rules are you have to spend every single night in your apartment. You can come and go as you want. Like you can go to the store, you can go to the park. You don't have to like be there 100% of the time, but you have to stay there every night. That one to me, I don't think is that weird. That is what you're being paid to do, is to watch the apartment. So if you just take off and you're not actually there, like what are you getting paid for? So I don't think that one by itself was that unreasonable. But there's a couple of others that are just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. One being absolutely no visitors. You can have no visitors. And they say that this is for the privacy of the residents. And it's just like, okay, like maybe, whatever. It's still weird. And the one that really got to me the most was you can't receive any personal mail here. It's like, if I'm like, Jules was hired for 3 months. Okay. She was hired for 3 months. to do this jobs. And you can't have any personal mail come to the apartment. It's like, she's literally living there, so why can't she get her mail there? It doesn't make sense to me. It never did. And that set off a lot of big alarm bells in my mind. It really did. So, and another rule is to leave the residents alone. Do not speak to them unless you are spoken to. A little harsh, but I understand it, considering the clientele they have. They have a lot of famous people staying there. They have people that are trying to stay out of the paparazzi. They're like just trying to live their own lives. So I kind of get that one, because it's like, if they're just going home, like, they shouldn't have to be harassed by fans. But at the same time, don't speak unless you're spoken to. Like, it kind of made me like cringe a little bit, to the point where I'm like, so if I bump into somebody in the hallway, I can't say hello. I mean, I understand not harassing, but like, you can't say hello. It was alarming to me. And this was particularly hard for Jules because she has this favorite book that was actually written at the Bartholomew, and it takes place at the Bartholomew. So this is like another reason that this is a dream come true for her, because like, she basically gets to step into her favorite book, and the author lives there. And she approaches her, even though she's not supposed to. She approaches her one day, and this woman is like, "Weren't you told not to bother the residents?" I felt for Jules so hard there. I'm like, it's like, yeah, technically you did do what you weren't supposed to do, but she could have just been like, "Oh, well, I'm glad you liked my book, thank you," and just moved on. You know, it was just kind of, I don't know, it was weird. So all of this weird stuff starts to happen pretty much immediately after Jules moves in. She goes to get groceries the first day. And when she's coming back in, she runs smack dab into this other apartment sitter named Ingrid and drops all her groceries all over the place and ends up with a cut arm. And this ends up with her like meeting another resident who is a doctor, because he patches her up. And it also strikes up this friendship between her and Ingrid. Ingrid lives in the apartment that is directly below Jules, and she is also apartment sitting. So they kind of strike up a little bit of a friendship. Ingrid invites her out because she wants to apologize for hurting her. And she starts saying some things pretty much immediately that kind of rub Jules the wrong way. She's like saying stuff like, "It's weird here. It scares me sometimes, but I really need the money." Now keep that in mind. I really need the money. Who else really needed the money? Jules did. So there's kind of a connection here. There's kind of a bond here. And later that same night, Jules hears a scream. And her apartment and Ingrid's apartment, not only are they like directly on top of each other, but they are connected by a dumbwaiter shaft, which they kind of use for communication, sending notes back and forth. And the noise traveled up the dumbwaiter, and that's how she heard it. And she was like, "Oh my God, something's happened to Ingrid. She's hurt. I need to go check on her." And this is in the middle of the night. So she races downstairs and is banging on her door, like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? What's wrong?" And Ingrid comes to the door, but she's not acting normal. She's not acting like herself. And she's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine. You must have been watching TV." And Jules is like, "No, I was not watching TV. You were screaming." And she's like, "No, I wasn't screaming. I'm fine." And Jules registers that the look that is on Ingrid's face isn't normal. It does not look like her. It's her, but it doesn't look like her, like in the way that she typically carries herself. And even as she walks away, she feels like something's wrong, but she cannot pinpoint what it is because she's like, what can I do? She tells me she's fine. I can't keep like persisting it. So she goes ahead and she goes back upstairs. She goes to bed. The next morning, Ingrid's gone. She's told that Ingrid just packed up and left in the middle of the night. And nobody seems upset by it. Like, everybody's just like, oh, well, she just left. She wasn't happy with the rules. And Jules is like, no, that's not right. She never said anything about having a problem with the rules. And she's like, something is going on here. She screamed and then she left and she wasn't acting normal and nobody's really listening to her. So she decides to launch into this investigation to find out what happened to Ingrid. And she goes into it full force, honey. She is looking into the history of the property, of the residents, trying to figure out who used to live in the apartment she's sitting in. She's like going through Ingrid's social media looking for any signs that she could be somewhere else or somebody that might know where she is. She is going at this full force, and she ends up uncovering a lot of stuff she was not intending to uncover. I really, really enjoyed this book. It was so clever with the way that it was done, and it was so much deeper than I thought that it was going to be. So I will be putting in a spoiler alert here, and I'm going to try to not go into the spoilers too heavily, but there's a couple of little things I'm going to have to mention that could be construed as spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any of that, like, just mute until like the spoiler goes off the screen. So amongst looking for what happened to Ingrid, Jules discovers that there have been a lot of missing person instances connected to the Bartholomew. And one of them was the girl that was in the apartment right before she was Megan. And she finds Megan's cell phone inside the apartment. And there is yet another similarity between her, Megan, and Ingrid. They all didn't have family. They all were in a desperate position. They all desperately needed money. And now apartment sitters are disappearing. Megan disappeared. Ingrid disappeared. And now Jules is wondering if she's next. So this was so... I wasn't expecting it. I was not expecting that. So it's like... I thought that this was just going to be a, like, mystery of what happened to Ingrid and figuring out what happened to Ingrid. And that is how it started. And like, we find out about like all these other missing people and all these mysterious deaths and everything that's connected to this place. And it started to get so much deeper. And people keep telling Jules, leave it alone. Don't talk about stuff here. And she's just like, why is everybody telling me to keep my mouth shut? Everybody obviously knows something that I don't know. So it was very, very clever in the way that it was done. I really enjoyed all of the characters. They were intriguing to read about, even the villainous ones. It was just so good. I loved the setting of it. I loved that almost the entirety of this book took place at the Bartholomew, this creepy old apartment building. It felt like a isolated setting, which it wasn't technically isolated because she does go to a few other places, but considering that the bulk of this book took place there, it felt like an isolated setting mystery. And like you guys know, that's my bread and my butter. I absolutely love it. And I loved like the the small cast of characters. It just, it made it so tight and precise, and it's like you really get invested in these people and who they are and why they're here and all of this stuff. And my brain was just going like 100 miles a minute. There were some very clever red herrings in here. There was a couple of different twists. The first twist, like I said in the spoiler alert, the first twist really caught me by surprise. And there were a couple of other ones along the way that, like, once I kind of figured out what was going on, they didn't surprise me really. I think they were supposed to, but they still made sense. It's not like it upset me. Like, I'm like, oh well, I saw this coming, so it I hate it. It wasn't like that at all. I'm like, no, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. It's probably what would have happened regardless. So overall, I feel like the plots were done relatively well. They were mapped out very well. There were plenty of context clues. And this book was just so good. It was so good. I highly recommend Lock Every Door, particularly if you liked The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I really think that you would enjoy this one. It has a similar vibe. So that is all I can really say about that book without really delving even more into the spoilers. But that is all that I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, follow me on the social medias, click that bell if you want to be notified of all of my upcoming videos, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.